Hey everyone, it's Kothis, and as requested by a few members in my Discord, we're going to be going with a build video. This perfectly coincides with the fact that every standard mod in the entire game is now available to you completely free. You can now copy to the T every mod in this loadout without ever needing to check ADA again. This is amazing. The only mods that will not be given to you are raid mods and artifact mods, but no one ever uses raid mods, and artifact mods are earned by everyone by just playing the game. This change really needed to happen, and I'm really glad it did. Alright, let's get into the video. Today I'm going to show you how I like to play Solar Hunter. In my opinion, it's one of the most fun builds in the game. You'll have virtually unlimited proximity explosive knives, constant ability uptime, boosted weapon damage output, handling and reload speed, and obviously one of the highest damage supers in the game. This is the Incineration Blades Hunter. To get this build going, let's make sure we have everything in our subclass screen set up correctly. Since this is a PvE build, you'll want to go with Blade Barrage as your super. It's just objectively the best super to use in PvE right now. It's really strong and it does a ton of damage to bosses. As for your abilities, you'll definitely want to go with Gambler's Dodge. Gambler's Dodge will recharge your melee ability or throwing knife as long as you dodge near an enemy. This really comes in handy if you happen to whiff a proximity knife kill and you just need to get it back really quickly. And since this build is centered around the proximity throwing knife and our exotic armor choice does not do you any good without it, obviously make sure to have this knife equipped. Pick whatever grenade you want here, but I would recommend the healing grenade because there's not a lot of healing within this build, so this really helps out. As for your aspects, go with On Your Mark and Knock 'em Down. This combo will get you 5 fragment slots, which is really awesome. It allows for a lot of customization. On Your Mark is basically going to make you feel like a true gunslinger by massively boosting your weapon handling and reload speed for 12 seconds. To get this to work, all you have to do is get a precision kill to get 1 stack of On Your Mark, and this can be maxed out at 3 stacks. But what you'll probably be doing most of the time to get max stacks is just dodging near an enemy. That's all you have to do and you get ×3 On Your Mark. And the cool thing about On Your Mark as well is that you can refresh the timer anytime you want by either getting a precision kill or dodging, so it's very easy to have constant uptime. But Knock 'em Down is where this build really becomes insane. First, you get a nice buff to your Blade Barrage. It'll basically launch more blades, which means more DPS. But what we care about is the second part. While Radiant, final blows with your equipped throwing knife will fully refund melee energy. Yes, this means your throwing knife. You can continuously spam your proximity knife for as long as you are Radiant and getting kills with it, which once we go over this build, it will be all the time. As for your fragments, Ember of Singeing will help recharge your class ability while scorching targets, which again is all the time. Make sure to have Ember of Char on since we'll be igniting a lot of enemies. Char will scorch anyone that is damaged by an ignition explosion, and I'll go more into the ignition stuff here in a second. Ashes will ramp up the scorch stacks to allow for more ignitions to happen. Torches will make it to where we can become Radiant by just damaging an enemy with a throwing knife. And just a refresher, Radiant is a 25% weapon damage boost. It's awesome and you'll have it all the time. For the final slot, go with Ember of Eruption. In my opinion, this is going to increase the ignition explosion radius. You could go with Empyrean here if you wanted to, but Radiant is just so easy to activate. You really don't need to make it last any longer since all you need to do to activate it is just throw a throwing knife at an enemy and you get Radiant. It's that easy. So this setup is already pretty ridiculous, but it's about to get even better with the exotic armor piece, Caliban's Hand. Caliban's Hand is basically going to enhance our already massively powerful proximity knives by scorching any enemies it damages, or more importantly, igniting every enemy killed by them. These ignitions do a lot of AoE damage, and with Ember of Eruption, remember we're boosting the explosion radius of each ignition. Just getting a kill with this knife will instantly refund it too as long as you're Radiant, which again should be all the time since you'll constantly be using this knife. It's so satisfying to watch everything walk toward the knife and just explode. You can take out so many enemies so easily with this, just make sure you don't blow yourself up, so do be careful. Alright, next let's cover the mod setup, starting with the combat style mods. Since you have access to every mod now, you've got options, but here's what I use. Melee Well Maker is what will allow you to generate an elemental well by getting a proximity knife kill. Keep in mind, all elemental well generator mods have about a 4-second cooldown, so even if your proximity knife kills 7 thrall, for example, you will only generate 1 well from that 1 knife. However, you can double the amount of wells you get by using the mod Bountiful Wells. So now you get 2 elemental wells for every throwing knife kill. You could go with another Melee Well Maker to generate 4 solar wells per knife kill, but in my opinion, that's overkill. Your knife will always be ready to go as long as you're getting kills with it or dodging near enemies, and your dodge will quickly recharge because of the enemies you'll be scorching. So go with another Melee Well Maker if you want, but my recommendation is to go with 2 Font of Mights and 1 Elemental Time Dilation. Font of Might will give you another 25% boost to weapon damage that matches your subclass type, and that will also stack with Radiant's 25% damage boost. All you need to do to activate Font of Might is pick up a well that matches your subclass type, so since we are only generating solar wells here, just pick up one of the many solar wells that you'll be making with all of your knife kills. Since Font of Might only buffs weapons that match your subclass type, you'll obviously want to make sure you have solar weapons equipped. And really, there is none better than the Callus mini tool with Incandescent. This weapon fully synergizes with solar in that it will scorch surrounding enemies after a kill, and those scorches can lead to ignitions. And Font of Might and Radiant will make this thing even crazier by providing a 56% weapon damage increase while both buffs are active. By default, Font of Might stays active for 10 seconds, but that other mod, Elemental Time Dilation, will take that to 13 seconds. If you add in a second Font of Might, this will extend it to 16 seconds. You'll know the Font of Might buff is active when it says Solar Weapon Boost. Moving on, let's cover what affinity types you should have on your armor so you can slot in the rest of these mods. For your helmet, you can go with whatever affinity you want with Font of Might and Double Harmonic Siphon. Harmonic Siphon, if you don't know, will generate orbs of power as long as you're getting kills with weapons that match your subclass, so Callus Mini Tool. But if you don't have Mini Tool, that's fine, any solar weapon will work. You will constantly be generating orbs with Harmonic Siphon. For your gloves, I'd recommend going solar so you can get Bountiful Wells, and then go for whatever stat mod you want, as well as Impact Induction and maybe a champion mod when you need it. Impact Induction will lower your grenade cooldown when you get a melee. You're not going to be using your grenade too much, but it is nice. If you really don't care about your grenade, I would say go for an SMG reloader or maybe another champion mod if you want to put that in. For your chest piece, go with whatever affinity you want. Throw on Font of Might here as well as the resist mods from the artifact. Those are always really helpful at keeping you alive. For boots, affinity, again, thankfully doesn't really matter here since you'll be using Font of Might, which does not require a specific affinity. I did go Arc here so I can slot in Invigoration, which will reduce melee cooldown when picking up an Orb of Power. It's not really necessary since your knife is always there, but this mod does help when you do need a knife back. And finally, your cloak needs to be stasis so you can slot in Elemental Time Dilation and Utility Kickstart. Doubling up on Utility Kickstart is great because it will automatically refund 20% of your dodge every single time you dodge. As for your stat distribution, it doesn't matter too much, but I do always try to get 100 resilience and as high as mobility as I can, just so I can make sure to get the dodge back as quickly as possible. Alright, let's move on to some weapons you should have in this loadout. As long as you have a solar energy weapon and preferably a solar heavy weapon, you should be good here. Obviously, the main choice for your energy weapon will be the Callus Mini Tool, but if you don't have it, get any weapon with incandescent that you can. The Retraced Path Pulse Rifle, the Amit Auto Rifle, and the Drang Sidearm are all great weapons for that. They all get incandescent. There are plenty more in the game, but these three are strong picks that are a close second to the Mini Tool. Your kinetic slot should just cover what your energy slot is missing, so if you are using the Mini Tool, get something that hits hard to handle major enemies like a shotgun or a fusion rifle. If you've got Wither Horde, it does work really good in the kinetic slot. For your heavy weapon, just go with whatever solar weapon you're needing in that moment. Solar linear fusions like the Cataclysmic are great for most boss damage, and obviously Gjallarhorn is just awesome, but really any solar rocket should work just fine. So now that we've gone over the subclass setup, the exotic, the mods, our weapons, let's go over the gameplay loop. Basically what you'll do is just toss a proximity knife at or near an enemy, watch them explode, and you'll become radiant, get your knife refunded on that kill, spawn a solar well, pick up the well to get some ability energy back and also proc Font of Might for increased solar weapon damage, and basically rinse and repeat. And remember, if you ever miss your knife kill, just dodge near an enemy to get it refunded instantly. And if you're ever caught in a situation where you're missing both your knife and your dodge, just scorch a few enemies with your incandescent weapon to get it back thanks to Ember of Singeing. And while all of that is happening, your weapons will all have increased handling and reload speed thanks to On Your Mark. Most of the other stuff just kind of happens in the background. Everything is just so powerful and you don't really have to think too hard to make it that way. And that is the Incineration Blades Hunter. I really hoped you guys liked it. If you want to see more videos like this in the future, please let me know. I really enjoy making these videos, and if you have any more questions on stuff, please join the Discord. We love helping out people with builds, getting people through raids and dungeons. It's just a really good place. Alright everyone, I will see you all in the next video.